Hey world, this is Judah Z, PandA Law Firm. Thanks for listening to our videos and getting a little bit of this pandemonium that we have going on here. Today we're going to be talking about some real estate fraud. You know, whether it comes to foreclosure defense scams or rental scams, these are all things that can affect us and really hurt our lives. So let me give you some heads up, let me give you some red flags, let me give you some ways to protect yourselves. And if you like what you're seeing, just click the like and subscribe button and you'll learn some more. But let's get into it. We're going to be talking about foreclosure defense fraud and scams, and also rental fraud and scams. The first thing, so how about foreclosure defense / real estate fraud? Here we have a couple different scenarios. One scenario is where you're facing foreclosure or the risk thereof, and someone comes in and says, look, why don't you sign your deed over to me? I'll pay the mortgage for you, or I'll negotiate some kind of loan modification for you, keep you in your home. Major red flag when anyone wants you to sign the deed over to them. The deed is the ownership of the property. Your name is still on the mortgage, so you're still tied to the debt. Those things are separate. And what we often see is that person who you sign the deed over to will then kick you out perhaps, which they can do, or they'll re-rent the property, make money that way, or they'll find another ingenious way to somehow scam money or take money out of the property and still leave you in that foreclosure situation. So major red flag, never do it. Never sign your title over to anyone unless you're actually getting that money or they're putting that money to a title company to pay off that mortgage. Otherwise, all you're gonna do is be left with the debt and not have the property, okay? Second kind of scam when it comes to foreclosures or foreclosure rescue is foreclosure service providers. When they're asking for money up front and they're out of state normally, right? So you don't know who they are. They're not licensed attorneys in state. And really, if you're having anyone do any kind of loan modification or foreclosure defense, they should be a licensed attorney in your state that you can come see. Because otherwise, we see a lot of bad operators coming out of Florida, New York, Texas, California. You're paying them money, hoping they're going to do a loan modification for you or some kind of foreclosure rescue. They don't. You lost the money. There's really no way to get it back. So those are a couple red flags that we're looking at as far as when it comes to foreclosure fraud scams, okay? The next thing we're looking at is rental scams, all right? And rental scams, these can either apply to a personal residence, like where you may live, or even a business, a place that you may want to rent for your business. So in regards to personal places you may want to rent, oftentimes people will look at Craigslist for listings because maybe you can find some great deals there. I found great deals on Craigslist before, but we always have to be very careful. So here's the scam as we see it, right? There's some kind of house that's been sitting empty for months or years, and people watch these things. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna list that property for rent on Craigslist, and you'll find it on there. It'll be a great deal. You're like, how do we not see this deal earlier? We got to jump on this, right? So you'll contact the number. They'll say, yes, it's still for rent. Why don't you go by the house? There'll be a lockbox on the house, right? Some kind of realtor lockbox. And sometimes people can get access to these things. So they'll say, look, you don't worry about me. I'm out of town. Just go in, take a look around, right? So you'll go to the lockbox, you'll open up the house, you'll take a look around, it looks great, yeah, why don't you want the deal? So you contact them, they say, yes, we need first, last deposit up front, pretty standard stuff. You pay it to them. Now, especially if they want some kind of payment like in gift cards or iTunes cards, major red flag there. You know, check out some of our other videos when we've talked about scams and frauds. iTunes, gift cards, if that's how they want you to pay, scam. But even if you're paying them, you know, some kind of money in either electronic form, check, or whatever it may be, what soon thereafter will happen is you'll be in that house for maybe months, maybe even years, paying this rent to your landlord. And then you'll get a knock on the door and it'll actually be the owner of the property. And they're saying, well, what are you doing squatting in my home? And you'll say, well, I have a legitimate lease. Well, no, you didn't, because that person that you rented from, was not the actual owner. So, you know, how do we overcome that? Number one, you want to make sure that when you're dealing with them, that you actually meet them, right? That seems kind of obvious, right? But also what you want to do is you want to make sure that you check who the owner is, perhaps on government websites, right? So you could, for instance, we're in Clark County. I could go to the Clark County Assessor's Office, put in the address for the property, and I can see who the owner is. And if you're dealing with someone else that doesn't have that same owner name, that's a problem, okay? So those are two kinds of frauds that happen when it comes to rental properties. One other is actually, let's say you have a legitimate rental, whether it's business or personal residence, and after you move out, the landlord says, well, no, you owe me more money, either because you didn't give me proper notice on the move out or you left the property damaged. Okay, let's talk about proper notice on the move out. What's most important is the lease. Everything about that rental is in the four corners of that lease. It's called the parole evidence rule. So anyways, anything that happens outside of that lease, that written lease, I don't care what the landlord says, it doesn't matter, it doesn't hold water. Look at that lease and see how you give proper notice to move out. Normally it'll be at least a 30-day heads up. It's not just 30 days like within that month. So, if you want to move out at the end of January, you can't give notice January 1st. You actually probably have to give notice back like November 29th or November 30th before December even starts to have proper notice. So you always want to give yourself some more additional time in case there's any question about whether you give proper notice, but normally it's going to be at least 30 days. The other aspect of it is, well, if you didn't give proper notice, they're going to come after you for that. But the other thing we're looking at is damage to the property, right? So you move out, you think you left it great. The landlord comes back later and says, oh no, you owe me $4,000 because, essentially they want to do a mini rehab on your dime. So number one, normal wear and tear you do not need to pay for. That's pretty much common law throughout the United States. It's any damage above normal wear and tear. So if you have, if they got to repaint, there's some carpet just from high traffic issues, normally not a problem, right? Couple scuffs here, no big deal. If there's broken windows, broken appliances, mold everywhere, that might be some other issue. But here's how you protect yourself. You take pictures and video when you move in. Preferably with the landlord or the leasing agent there. You got them on camera, it's this date, we're doing the initial walkthrough, you walk in, you're taking pictures, taking video, everything. So you know what it looks like beforehand. Then when you move out, number one, the landlord or the leasing agent should have a checklist that they're checking off and that you need to sign off on, accounting for any damage. But also, once again, let's take that video, let's take those pictures. Here I'm here with the landlord again, or the leasing agent, it's this date, I'm moving out, this is a move out walkthrough, here's what the place looks like. Okay, it looks the same as when you moved in, except for minus a little bit wear and tear. That way you're protected. Otherwise, what they're going to do, and a lot of landlords do this, or unscrupulous ones, I should say, they're going to hold your security deposit and then, apply that to other things and still come after you for additional damage. Well, number one, this video before and after protects you from the additional damage, but also it protects you from them holding onto your security deposit if it's not warranted. So the landlord has a duty in most states, and at least in Nevada, right, to give you that checklist and your security deposit within 30 days of move out. If they don't do that, then perhaps there's a penalty of them even having to double what that deposit refund is. And look, guys, I know I've talked about this before, but it happens all the time. If you want to learn more about that topic and also other common legal frauds or legal issues, just check out this video right there and you'll learn some more. If you like some of the content you heard today, you found it useful, please click like and subscribe and you can learn more. Also, we have other topics on our PandA Law YouTube channel. Please follow us there. My name is Judah Z for PandA Law Firm. Thank you much.